why do we need sleep? Now, I've been thinking about this for a little while, only because I've had a bit of interrupted sleep, I should say, in the last little while, and I find I go through phases of this. I'll have good sleep, and then sometimes I won't have good sleep. And obviously, anecdotally, I think every one of us knows that if stay up and don't go to sleep for an extended period of time, it's going to start impairing you cognitively. You're going to have obviously not the energy to do. You're not going to be able to focus. You're not going to be able to do things, and then it can lead to some very serious sort of consequences if you try to persist in staying awake for too long. So I don't think anecdotally obviously we need the sleep. It's something that we need, but it's quite interesting that I came across this article about biphasic sleep, which was about in the past humans having effectively 2 shifts of sleep. So basically they would have maybe 4 hours of sleep, they'd wake up for an hour or two, and then they'd have another 4 hours of sleep, and that predominated at least prior to the 17th century. And then we sort of after that started to move towards the model of, get 8 hours of sleep a night kind of thing. And I just thought that was interesting and kind of, and I only say that because I felt like I've been doing that recently where, I'll have like a 4 hour, I go to bed and then I'll be up at like 1 o'clock in the morning and I'm fully awake, but then I'll die again and go to sleep at like 2 o'clock or something. And but I also wonder whether there's phases of this as well, because trying to like box us in like sort of like a robotic response to human biological processes is a little bit difficult, because we're all growing, changing, we go through different phases and everything, and sleep might just be another one of these things where you can have extended periods where you have lots of good sleep, then you might have lots of bad sleep. It might be impacts psychologically that it's having on you. Maybe you're under stress, or maybe it's just random. But I guess the point at the end of the day is you still got to have it.
Well, the thing that's really interesting about this particular story is that, look, scientifically it's well established that we should have around 8 hours of sleep a day. And what this story I found fascinating was we only started having a full single 8 hours sleep a day with industrialisation and paid work, i.e. we have to show up for work at a particular time and you clock on for a notional 8 hour shift from the time you start. What this was talking about was the fact that if you were subsistence living, running a small plot in a village somewhere, living in ankle-deep mud during winter and like sweating it out with mosquitoes during summer, you would actually quite possibly have a couple of sleeping periods, which would probably add up to about 8 hours throughout a day. And that might be, in some cultures it could be a siesta after lunch for 3 or 4 hours, and then staying up late into the night for another 4 or 5 hours sleep at the other end. Or potentially you might go to sleep in the very early evening, wake up 3 or 4 hours later, be up for 2 or 3 hours, and then grab another 4 hours after that, and probably still get up when the sun rises. So it's fascinating to think that, with industrialisation and organised work, we've created a system where we no longer sleep naturally, and it's probably something we don't think very much about. And interestingly, it means that maybe, for people with sleep issues, if they have insomnia or have difficulty sleeping throughout a night, maybe there's something in this that could be explored. But obviously, even the modern age, although we're a lot more flexible today than we have been in the past, how you integrate, I guess, a couple of sleeps in a 24-hour period, that's an interesting question.
And of course, the ultimate challenge too is that in our new modern globalized world, it's operating 24/7. So now, people can work at any time. Shift work, whatever else. So I think that also adds to it, the concept of we'd only work during daylight hours, for instance, and that was the only option, has gone out the window completely. People can be working at any time, and so you've got more distractions than ever before to keep you awake as well. A lot of technology, if misused, for instance, too much streaming, too much device use, can keep you awake. And it's something they have to actually be very conscious of in terms of management, because it could just run away without you realizing it.
Yeah, totally. I mean, that's an interesting point you make. Basically, the digital environment is very good at keeping us on our devices for as long as possible, whether it's games, phones, socials, whatever, and that is distracting us. But you also make a second good point, which is if we are moving into a world where we can work 24/7, it also means we can find time for 8 hours sleep across that 24/7. Um, and I think, what all of the studies show around the need for sleep is that you got to clock off for at least 8 hours in a 24-hour cycle. Otherwise, you risk quite serious health conditions, especially in later in life.